Are the San Francisco 49ers absolutely cooked in 2025? I think this is a question that a lot of 40 has played out, kind of looking at the moves that were made and or not made. And so what we're going to do is we're going to dive into this question a little bit further. The new league year started on Wednesday, so we're a couple days into it. Obviously, illegal tampering started on Monday, so that's when all the flurry of moves have gone down. But we're getting stuff officially through. So the main focus of today's conversation is really going to surround that. Are the 49ers in bad shape as it currently stands heading in to next season? So let's talk about it. Let's see if there's also, we're going to discuss, can we salvage it? Or maybe there's a little optimism that we can squeeze out of this. And we'll see where the San Francisco 49ers go. But you guys already know what to do. Drop an SDS in the chat. Let's see if we can get up to 200 likes on the video today on YouTube. So smash that like button and let's get into it all right now. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. What is going down, SDS? Shout out to the Bread Gang. Appreciate everyone tapping in on this Friday. Man, this week has been one of the longer weeks in recent memory with all of free agency going off. I've been putting in long hours around this team. Honestly, spending a lot of time, talking about the moves that the team has not made, I think has defined what this free agency period is. So let's talk about that. Let's set the context. Let's discuss where the 49ers are currently at, and then we'll discuss and decide, are the 49ers cooked, or maybe they're thawing. I don't know. I don't know what what other analogy to put, but let's have this conversation, shall we? So I'm sure you guys have seen, I made a video on this earlier, but this was a pretty crazy stat to see in regards to the San Francisco 49ers free agent spending. The 49ers free agents who have left, you can see on the screen, Dre Greenlaw, Talanoa Hufanga, Charvarius Ward. The list goes on and on of guys. This actually doesn't include Kyle Juszczyk. It doesn't include Deebo Samuel. It's more so, it's just the free agents who have signed elsewhere. Of course, Jalen Moore signed as the starting left tackle for the Chiefs. And you had other players leave in free agency as well. Those free agents have earned a record high $321 million, which is the most money ever spent in NFL history on one team's departing free agents. That is insanity. That is so much money. That is over $250 million of dollars spent on 49ers players in free agency. So the thing is that with a lot of these departures, I don't think all these departures were necessarily bad. And I want to kind of talk about that a little bit. Obviously, Javon Hargrave was a release. He's coming off a torn triceps. He's older, and just wasn't what the San Francisco 49ers were looking for, right? He goes and gets, what did he get? He got like a 2-year, $30 million deal, something like that. He got paid pretty handsomely from Minnesota. Elijah Mitchell goes to Kansas City. Okay, Elijah Mitchell didn't even play last year. He was on IR in training camp, ended his season. We didn't even see him play. So Elijah Mitchell goes. All right, that's fine. Joshua Dobbs, he goes and signs with New England. Okay. Is that a big deal? I don't know. I don't think so. I think we liked the idea of Josh Dobbs. He just never got the opportunity because when it was time for a quarterback to go in, it was Brandon Allen, who also signed somewhere today, I believe. Today or yesterday. I can't remember where he signed. Well, we already mentioned Jalen Moore. He's going to be the starting left tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs. Talanoa Hufanga gets a big-time contract to go sign with the Denver Broncos. And talking about Jalen Moore and Talanoa, Jalen Moore filled in serviceably as Trent Williams' replacement. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Like, I wasn't overly impressed with Jalen Moore last year. I know a lot of people were, just because he didn't give up a lot of sack production. You didn't give up a ton of pressures or anything like that. But, when I was watching the tape, I really wasn't that impressed by his performance. It was solid. It was serviceable. But honestly, what Jalen Moore did in place of Trent Williams was no different than what Colton McKivitz does, but those two are going to be talked about differently, right? So I wasn't upset that Jalen Moore, I'm actually kind of like interested by that because if the 49ers come up against Jalen Moore, this is no disrespectfully, of course, no disrespect to Jalen Moore. I think the 49ers would prefer that matchup, honestly. Like, I would be licking my chops if we were to do a pregame show talking about how do we attack the Kansas City Chiefs. I would be talking about attacking Jalen Moore. That would be based on what I know of that team. I'm like, Jalen Moore is susceptible. You can get that guy. So I'm not upset at that. Talanoa Hufanga, I appreciate it as a player. I appreciate it as a person on the team. But unfortunately, he was coming off ACL, and then he had the thumb issue, and he didn't play all that much last year. So the 49ers move on. They're clearly hunting for safeties and all of those things, but he goes and gets the bag. Great job. Aaron Banks is the third highest paid interior offensive lineman right now in the league, which is insane because I believe that I was ready to bench Aaron Banks. I was ready to bench Aaron Banks in training camp. I had mentioned quietly on my streams that I was like, I don't know if Aaron Banks is going to be starting all throughout this year based on what I'm seeing in training camp. Because right now in training camp, Dominic Pooney is playing better than he is. And it was a big concern. My meter was going it was going ding ding ding. Like I was like, I'm concerned about Banks. And sure enough, he struggled this year. Banks was not great by any stretch of the imagination. He goes and signs with the Packers. I think he's going to make $63 million in his first 3 seasons, which averages $21 million. So good for him. Congratulations. And then you have Charvarius Ward. Obviously, we know what happened last year. Last year was tough, and he wasn't himself. And he even talked about it in his press conference with the Colts that he just was like he said himself, he's like, I was mentally retired. So I love Charvarius. Charvarius was an all-pro for us, but I think it made sense to let him go because you paid Deommodore Lenoir, and then you drafted Renardo Green. So you kind of already had the natural replacement. The one that fans are having a tough time with, I think, are Dre Greenlaw signing elsewhere and signing with the Denver Broncos, 3 years, $35 million, I believe it was. And, you know, it's tough because I do believe Dre was like one of the heartbeats of the defense. Him and Fred together were fantastic, and obviously I do believe having Dre Greenlaw um, on the team last year would have helped. Having Dre Greenlaw probably wins like three extra games just having him. So that's a tough loss in my opinion. And they're going to have to figure out how to replace him. And we're going to talk about the replacements. And again, this is a whole setup. This is a whole setup to this conversation to determine, are the 49ers cooked? So the first portion of this is identifying this money being paid out to the players that I'm talking about. And then on top of that, the 49ers released Kyle Juszczyk. So Kyle Juszczyk hasn't signed, and I also wouldn't rule out a return. I do think him potentially coming back is in the cards. We'll see if that happens, but I would not be surprised if the 49ers are able to bring Kyle Juszczyk back. We'll see. We'll see about that. So the bottom line is, they release Malik Collins. He goes and signs. They release what's his name? I don't know why I keep blanking on his name. Leonard Floyd. He's gone. Tabor Pepper's gone. Honestly, the only real problems that I'm currently having with, and I'll get to those super chats in a second, I just want to get through this thought, is I don't see a ton of guys that can't be replaced. I think the hardest guys that are going to need to be replaced are Dre Greenlaw and Charvarius Ward. I think those are the two most difficult guys that they're going to have to replace, and they've already done kind of a replacement of Charvarius Ward by drafting Renardo Green. All right, so walk with me now. Yes, there are holes on the defense, and I just think that although it is daunting to see this, and then it's also daunting to see that the 49ers have the largest free agent spending deficit of $284 million in NFL history by over $80 million, which means these free agents were paid $320 million. The 49ers only paid $37 million to their new crop of free agents. So what that means is that is the largest free agent spending deficit in NFL history by over $80 million. So that's why I think a lot of fans are kind of panicking a little bit, like, whoa, we are really not trying to compete for 2025. Like, we're really just resetting the financial structure of this team. We're eating all the dead cap hit. The 49ers lead the league in dead cap hit. I believe the figure's at like 86 million in dead cap taken up by players who will not be on the San Francisco 49ers this year. So I think when you take all of that information and you see all pros, you see pro bowlers, you see guys that have been staples on this team leave, I think fans are like, oh my God, we're cooked. But I'm going to say this, not so fast. Not so fast. I'm going to make my case of why I don't think they're cooked yet. I think they're playing with fire, 100%. I think they're absolutely playing with fire. I think the water's getting warm. It's starting to you starting a little bubble a little bit, little ow, ooh, it's starting to get warm. But I'm gonna talk about someone said Copenhagen. I'm gonna talk about it might be a little cope in there too. Don't worry, I was huffing my copium before I came on here. Took a big dab of Copenhagen. That's hilarious. I'm gonna use that. I put a big dip of Copenhagen in here before we came on. But as I always tell you guys, I'm a big ranges of outcome person. So there is a a range of outcome where the 49ers aren't cooked. I'm just saying, man. I'm gonna keep it a buck. I will share ranges of outcomes that I know you guys don't like. I've done it recently, and you guys get real upset with me in the chat. And I'm just like, listen, man, I'm just sharing ranges of outcomes. Doesn't mean I want it to happen, doesn't mean I think it's going to happen, but I'm a ranges of outcomes person. So I'm going to discuss and think of it from multiple perspectives. So I'll share the ones that you don't like. I'll share ones maybe that you like. We'll see. But the main purpose of this particular show is where I think there is a way to potentially salvage this season. Hendrick says 73 likes. Keep smashing them. We'll see. I'm going to get to the super chats. Appreciate the super chats coming in. Lisa says we all already knew what was going to happen. We were just hoping for Dre to be back. Was only shocked by Juice leaving. Honestly, Lisa, I think you're low-key spitting right now. I was able to rationalize Juice or Dre leaving because I heard about it like 2 months ago. So I was already like, okay, we're not getting Dre back. Like Dre's leaving. Like it is what it is. The word on the streets that I heard is he was telling teammates that he was not returning. So I was fully prepared. For sure. Fully prepared for Dre to leave. And the Juice one was a little surprising because I thought he was going to make it. I thought he was going to make it through. So, but like I said, there is still a chance I think Juice could return. We'll see if that happens, but I do think there is a chance. So we'll see. We'll see. But other than that, I think everyone else, I think it's just jarring because when you look at who the 49ers have brought in, they haven't necessarily signed like big time starters. What they have brought in is depth and kind of like special teamers and potential guys who could maybe compete, maybe be a role player. And I think that's kind of where everyone's kind of on notice and why there have been a lot of people saying that the 49ers are cooked and why the show title isn't harsh and it isn't clickbait. Some people are just softer than others. And so that's what this conversation is about. Are the 49ers cooked? Or is there actually a range of outcome where maybe, just maybe, they might be able to do some damage? Because remember, we have seen plenty of teams do more with less in the NFL. And who knows, maybe a recharged, refreshed, kind of angry, kind of pissed off 49er team might do some damage. Cynthia, thank you so much. And shout out to Lisa too for the super chat. I appreciate you, Cynthia, sending the $20 super chat. Sending this in honor of the money the 49ers didn't spend on free agents we lost. BBL. Well, thank you, Cynthia. I really appreciate it. Very generous of you. And I will gladly take your donations on behalf of the San Francisco 49ers not spending in free agency. But again, thank you, Cynthia. I really do appreciate it. And Hendrix is reporting in the chat that we are 100 likes away from our like goal. So far things are going swimmingly and all that stuff. I like that. 49ers are thawing. All right. So let's kind of reset. All right. So we talked about the players who have left. We talked about the money that has been spent out to them. It's a lot. But let's kind of look at the roster. I'm going to use David Lombardi's roster spreadsheet. I love looking at this thing because I'm a very visual person. So I'm going to bring you guys in as well. I think he puts out a link to this on his social media as well, if I'm not mistaken. But let's have a conversation about the offense, shall we? And this is kind of where I start with, I really don't think they're that far in the hole as much as it feels, right? So you look at the quarterback. The quarterback's Brock Purdy. If the 49ers have a quarterback, then they have a shot. And if they have Brock, I really do believe they have a shot. I think that Brock is a calming presence in this offense. I believe that he is a guy who can steer the ship, a guy who can do it while Kyle schemes it up. He can go out and execute it, right? So as long as Brock is the quarterback this year, I think, and this offense, for the most part, as it stands right now, remains, and then they add through the draft, I do think there is a good chance. Where's Mac Jones? I probably don't have the most up-to-date version of this. Because this one's I've been using. Let me see. I don't think I have the most up-to-date version of it, but we can fill in the gaps. Actually, let me see if I can get the most up-to-date version. I know he stays updating this thing. So let me see. Most up-to-date version. It does have Mac Jones, so why not? We'll get the most up-to-date version up here. Whoa. It's all crazy. All right. Big time squirrel. Big time squirrel. Come on, dog. There we go. There we go. Okay, we're almost ready. Asking you shall receive. Okay, we're going to pull it up. Just a minor difficulty. Don't mind me. And while you're at it, smash that like button. Come on, meow. Come on, meow. Smash that like button. All right, so this is where we're at. So the up-to-date David Lombardi master spreadsheet. And let's zoom her in a little bit. Let's get nice and comfortable. All right. So there's Mac Jones. There he is. Hey, Mac. Sitting over there with Tanner Mordecai. So 49ers got Brock, got Mac Jones as a backup. I don't mind Mac Jones as a backup, honestly. I said it all along during 2021. I'd be fine with Mac Jones at 12. I just didn't want him at 3 because I was a Justin Fields guy. So if you were going, let me get the mustache right. If you were going to draft a quarterback in the top 3, had to have the athletic upside, which is why I didn't want Mac Jones at 3. I personally wanted Fields, and other people didn't want it. A lot of people wanted Trey Lance. I was indifferent on Trey Lance. I mostly wanted Fields. All right, I got to get this out of here. It's bugging me. Okay, there we go. But anyways, the point being is I was fine with Mac Jones at 12. That seemed appropriate value. And so the fact that Mac Jones signed a 2-year deal, $7 million, worth up to 11, I'm fine with it. I have no problem with it. To me, it's hilarious considering the conversation surrounding Mayo Mac in the lead up to that draft and everything that went into that. That's the funny part. But Mac Jones, he had a pretty solid rookie year. Other than that, it hasn't been ideal. Right? He struggled with the Patriots, and then when he went over to Jacksonville, he did okay. He didn't do great. Still had a lot of picks and stuff like that. So I'm fine with the quarterback room. I also wouldn't be mad if they drafted a quarterback, but I would say with the signing of Mac Jones, they don't need to draft one. So I would say based on the needs that they have, they shouldn't draft one. But you look at the running back room, you got Christian McCaffrey, Isaac Rendo, Patrick Taylor, Israel Bonaconda. Obviously, you don't have Jordan Mason on here because I don't believe Jordan Mason has actually signed his tender. So he was hit with the second round tender. Teams will have the opportunity to negotiate with him. And if they see that they want to sign Jordan Mason, they will have to send the 49ers a second round draft pick. So we'll see if that is the case. But currently, running back depth is pretty solid. And let's again talk about it. If Christian McCaffrey is healthy and the bilateral tendonitis, Achilles tendonitis, is something that won't be a lingering impact to him throughout next year, and he's good to go, the 49ers, just in those 2 positions that we've talked about, quarterback and running back, their offense is light years better than what it was last year. I know a lot of people think that that Jordan Mason was comparable to Christian McCaffrey, but he's just not. Christian McCaffrey, a fully healthy Christian McCaffrey, is a different beast. He's a different beast. He is a phenomenal runner, and also his ability to play outside of structure and in the passing game as a receiver. Christian McCaffrey's solid. So as long as Christian healthy's a huge linchpin in this all, I think, is Christian McCaffrey being healthy. And even so, the 49ers still might draft another running back. So we'll see how that goes. But let's go ahead and say CMC is going to be healthy next year. Then you got Jawan Jennings coming off a career year. You have Ricky Pearsall, who really showed a lot of promise at the end of last year, and which was amazing considering how he started last year. So Ricky Pearsall has the opportunity to take a huge step forward. Now, I would say Brandon Ayuk is a TBD. We don't know what the future holds for him. We don't know if he's even going to be on this roster. Clearly, the 49ers feel okay with potentially trading him and moving off of him. Let's say for now they don't, and he returns healthy. Let's just throw a date on it. Week 4, fully healthy Brandon Ayuk. He's good to go by week 4. In the meantime, you have Jawan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, Demarcus Robinson. Hopefully, doesn't get suspended for a DUI related incident that had happened with him. But I had also mentioned that I really liked the Demarcus Robinson signing. In fact, it was one that I wanted to see. So I think he's underrated. I think he is he's a high end version of Chris Conley, is the way that I look at him. So let's say these are your 4 wide receivers, and let's say Jacob Cowing takes a step forward. Let's also say that the guy that I am the most excited about to see in training camp this year, just based on what potential can he bring to this team, is Isaiah Hodgins. Isaiah Hodgins has potential, people. He has just as much potential, I believe, as a guy like Demarcus Robinson. So I really want to see Isaiah Hodgins in training camp, and I want to see what he can do. You also have Tariq Owens. Had the pleasure of interviewing Tariq Owens at the Super Bowl. I posted that interview on the channel. Great guy. And I loved how he spoke about the game. He didn't speak about it from feeling like he was physically overmatched. He spoke about it in the sense of just learning the playbook was the hardest part. And then he said that the speed of the game wasn't too much. And so Tariq Owens could also be a guy who stands out because he stood out last year in training camp before he got hurt. So Tariq Owens is another guy, and then you got some depth pieces in Russell Gage and Trent Taylor. So from the wide receiver perspective, so far, moving through the 49ers offense, and again, all our qualifiers right now are health related. So looking at this offense so far, we're looking at the skill positions. We haven't even got to George yet. I feel pretty damn good about this. I missed a super chat. Thank you. No, appreciate it, Tommy. I missed it. He said, we got Smack Daddy Joneser. We going to the bowl. No, thank you, Tommy. I missed that one. Sometimes I get on a roll, and I forget. So I agree with Joy. Nice super. It was worth the wait. It's worth the wait. Smack Daddy Jones, are we going to the bowl, baby? That's right. That's the type of optimism we're looking for on this Friday. Again, I think there's been a lot of down feelings around the 49ers this offseason. And I think now that we've been able to kind of move past it, move through it, I do think if we kind of move ourselves from the situation, I do think we can find some optimism here. Also, I want to point out, I'm looking at the poll right now, and it says 200 likes. I'm not saying like the poll. The poll has 229 votes. I'm not saying like the poll, like the video. The video looks like it has like 150-ish votes. I'm not saying like the poll, like the video. I appreciate you guys. I just wanted to make that clear because you absolutely exceeded the like, I guess the like, but the poll amount. Hey, I don't mind it. You can hit both, but I thought that was funny. I just popped over. I'm like, oh, you guys crushed the poll, but that's funny, man. All right, back the squirrel. We're back. We're back. We're back on track. All right, George Kittle. George Kittle, we expect to be on the team next year. Correct? George Kittle coming off a fantastic year. To me, he's the best tight end in the league. Don't at me. So, and then the 49ers sign Luke Farrell. They add him into free agency. Thank goodness the 49ers finally have a blocking tight end. So, you've got Kittle. You finally have a Charlie Warner replacement. We'll see what Braden Willis and Jake Tonges do. I actually also wouldn't be surprised if they draft a tight end. And you got Mason Pline, who has a little bit of upside. So when we look at the skill positions for the 49ers offense, I am not seeing a ton of like glaring holes here. Because again, you can draft another tight end. You could draft another wide receiver. You could draft another running back if you wanted to supplement these rooms. So I'm actually okay with the 49ers skill positions on offense. And then when you look at the offensive line, and I know a lot of people have concern with the offensive line. I think I have less concern with the offensive line than most because you see Trent Williams is there. You have Ben Bartch. As you guys know, I am a big Ben Bartch fan after his performance against the Bills. If you would have asked me if I was a big Ben Bartch fan in training camp, I would have said no, I'm not. He did not perform well in training camp. So for me to watch him play like he did against the Bills, against former top 10 defensive tackles, and the way he got to second level and all of that, and then he continued that into the Chicago Bears game before he got hurt, there's a great chance that Ben Bartch could be a starter next year. And if he is, and he played like he did against the Bills, he will be better than Aaron Banks. So again, you see Aaron Banks leave and sign for that big money. But if Ben Bartch just plays at a consistent level like he did versus the Bills, if he can take that level of play and just play 17 games like that, he will be better than Aaron Banks. And, it's a good problem to have because he will get paid. He will get paid. And that's why I do think the 49ers need to still draft a guard or a center because you have to prepare for Ben Bartch. If he plays well, he signed a vet minimum 1-year deal. So if he plays, he's gone. Like the 49ers, I wouldn't even blame them for not paying him because based on how difficult it is to get quality offensive line play, teams will clearly pay through the nose for that. So I would expect Ben Bartch to leave next year. So you kind of have to think about that heading into the draft. And so I'm fine with Ben Bartch at either center or guard. To me, he can start at either one of those spots, center or guard. You obviously have Jake Brendel. I know Feliciano has been alluding to the fact that Brendel was hurt a lot last year. So maybe there was an outlier there. Maybe because Brendel did start out really rough. His first 2 games weren't good. He then got it back on track and then kind of fell off a cliff. So maybe the cliff drop is in correlation to an injury. So just keep that in mind because I know that's what Feliciano, I saw him on Twitter kind of talking about, like, you need to put some respect on Brendel's name because so many people are so down on Brendel. He alluded to the fact that Brendel was injured. So maybe Jake was just gutting it out and maybe there was an issue there. So we'll see. We'll see with Jake. I would say at minimum, Jake will be in a competition with Nick Sikel, with Matt Hennessy, with Ben Barch potentially, and maybe someone that they draft. So we'll see. Dominic Pooney, lock. Absolute lock. We're comfortable with that. Colton McKivitz, I'm kind of excited for Colton McKivitz. I know all of you can't stand him, and it almost makes me like him more that you guys can't stand Colton McKivitz because I don't think it is appropriately placed anger. But I'm also not going to tell you how to feel. I've been watching Colton McKivitz off season so far. He is grinding. He is grinding right now. I'm talking about weight training, cardio. He's doing Pilates, which is crazy. I've learned that Pilates looks extremely challenging, especially for a big boy. He's doing a lot of work right now. They're posting it. Him and his trainer are posting it to his Instagram, so I'm seeing it. He looks leaner. He looks better. And he will be heading into year 3 as a starter. So I do think we saw him cut his pressures in half from year 1 to year 2. He went from 9 sacks given up to 3 sacks given up. So he made a jump from year 1 to year 2. I'm expecting a jump from year 2 to year 3. So he is under contract. I don't know if they're going to extend him. They might not. But I'm expecting another upgrade for McKivitz. I'm expecting another jump from him. And if he takes that another jump, he will solidify himself as a top 15 tackle in this league, which is what you want. So, again, are the 49ers cooked? Are they cooked with all the free agent moves that have happened? At least on offense. We're going to do offense first. We'll have a different conversation with the defense. But offensively, is there room for them to actually be pretty darn competitive next year, all things considered, based on all the things that we talked about? They plug in maybe one additional offensive lineman, whether that's, through the draft or what have you, or someone surprises like Hennessy or Zakel, or Burford potentially. Maybe you squeeze over here. Maybe a Drake Nugent does something. I thought Austin Pleasance actually wasn't terribly bad. Isaac is a developmental guy that I'm curious about to see what it'll look like next year in training camp. So I don't know. I think there might be an opportunity here. I think maybe. I don't know. We'll see. And again, the draft will be imperative for any of this to like fully work. For sure. The draft will be imperative. If I if I wanna sing, Chili, I'm gonna sing, and you're gonna have to suffer. Alright. So, offensively, not bad. Not bad. And also, let's talk about Kyle Shanahan because before we move to the defense, he's an important part of this. Kyle Shanahan got exposed last year. And I'm saying that as someone who, dare I say, has been a Kyle Shanahan apologist, a Kyle Shanahan truther, as they may say. Apparently we have two factions of the 49er fan base, people who like Kyle Shanahan, people who don't. I have been on the side of liking Kyle Shanahan, but I will be the first to admit to you, he got exposed last year. His scheme, the protections, route concepts, very, very vanilla offense. And hey, that happens when you lose your top wide receiver, your top running back. Um, Issues happen, right? So I want this part. I think that the addition of Robert Saleh. Oh, I saw some super chats. I'm gonna get to the super chats. The addition of Robert Saleh will allow Kyle to refocus on the offense. He has to reinvent himself. He has to reinvent the offense. It has to find that spark again. It has to find that thing that makes it different. And it it just didn't have that last year. Defenses knew what we were doing. They took advantage of us. They took advantage of our protections. They were constantly scheming free rushers available. It constantly sped up the process of the play, made Brock look worse than I think he is. And I think that's where people have a hard time, is they really have a hard time contextualizing the fact that it all started before the play. Everything last year that I was watching on film, the defense could smell it. They could smell what was coming, and they played accordingly. And when opposing defenses know what you're doing, it makes it really hard to be successful if you're not executing at the highest of levels. So that's what I'm excited about with Kyle. Get Robert Saleh, focus on the defense. Not only that, you get Brant Boyer, focus on special teams. You get Kyle Shanahan to focus on the offense. Reset it. New energy, new blood. I think we could see, and hey, let's not pretend like we didn't hear about, you know, what just occurred internally in Mike Silver's piece. I think Kyle's got to prove some people wrong. I think Kyle has to get back to being that guy. I think he lost that a little bit last year. He needs to get back. He needs to remind people. And I appreciate you guys for getting us to 200 likes. Look at you guys. Before an hour or two, that's quality work. Round of applause for everybody in the chat. Let's go. So we did it. We hit our goal today. It's always fun when we hit a goal. Nice little win. Nice little W for the chat. I'll take it. Hey, who says you can't get W's in the off season? But I do think that Kyle Shanahan is an important element. Shout out to Larry. Appreciate the $2. And then following it up with, they should have told us about the fire sale on D. That actually is kind of a fire transition into the defense. And honestly, Larry, I don't think you're off base that much. there is a there's a fire sale going on with this defense. Malik Collins being out, Leonard Floyd being out. We've heard from multiple 49ers insiders. I think of Tim Kawakami, who keeps talking about how he says they could have executed everything that they've done without releasing those two guys because they didn't really save any money, from my understanding, against the cap by releasing those two guys. If anything, they just took on more dead cap. And so how it's being described is that the 49ers could have done the changes and still kept those guys. And that is, I think, where we're like trying to figure out, like, okay, well, what are we doing with the defense? Because we just did the whole offensive review. And I think the offensive review is the fact that the offense is not that dismembered, but the defense is. The defensive line is. Like, look, Lombardi even has a hole where a starter is going to be. You know something is wrong when David Lombardi is leaving a blank space where a starting player should be. And he has Jordan Mason in the starting spot. Or did I say Jordan Mason? Jordan Elliott. Jordan Elliott isn't a starter. No, he's not. He is a rotational base down defensive tackle. Rotational base down defensive tackle. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that Jordan Elliott probably shouldn't even be there either. Jordan Elliott should probably be over there. I don't even think Yetur Gross-Matos should be there. I think Yetur Gross-Matos needs to be bumped back. I think, I like Yetur too. I think Yetur needs to be over here. I think Yetur needs to be over there. Jordan Elliott needs to be back here. The 49ers have 3 starting holes on their defense, on the defensive line, which is an interesting element because this is a deviation from how the 49ers have built out their defense, their kind of ideology of how to. Oh, breaking news! Breaking news! The Seattle Seahawks have officially signed Cooper Kupp. Oh boy. Cooper Kupp to the Seattle Seahawks. Former Washington kid returns. He will now be paired up with Sam Darnold. So obviously this has an impact to the 49ers because the 49ers will be playing these fellas twice a year. To be honest, like, there's a reason that the Rams are moving off of Cooper Kupp. I saw some stat where he was like bottom 5 in the league in getting open. Like 3 years ago, he was top 15. Last year, he was like bottom 5. So I don't know if he's necessarily the same player that he used to be from an athletic standpoint. I still think he's a good player. I'm not gonna hate on him like that. But this, I think of like the LeBron James gif, where he's like, "Ooh," it's like, I think we're gonna be okay. I think we'll be okay with that. Like, I don't think he's better than DK Metcalf. They traded DK Metcalf away. Tyler Lockett's not there anymore. He's gonna pair up with JSN, but you know, apparently he had plenty of options. I'm curious if the 49ers were in that business of trying to get Cooper Kupp. They signed his former teammate, Demarcus Robinson, but something tells me that they weren't, just based on the spending trends of the 49ers right now. But Cooper Kupp staying in division. So 49ers going to have to match up against Cooper Kupp, Sam Darnold, JSN. They still have their running back duo. I think their offensive line needs a little work, but I don't know. I'm not too terribly concerned with this move. Cooper Kupp stays in division and heads to the Seahawks. Good move for Seattle? Question mark. Post. Post. Oh, look at that. Mac Jones. Hashtag Go Niners. Mayo Mac in the Bay. Mayo Mac in the Bay. Look at that. All right. Let's get back to it. So, looking at the defense for the 49ers, Larry dropped another one. He says, "You see, teams are going to test our defense this year." Oh, they're going to test their defensive line because we got guys like Drake Jackson. I don't even know if Drake's going to be healthy or not. Robert Beal, unfortunately, I never saw the vision with Robert Beal and haven't really seen it yet, but we'll see. Maybe he has a breakout year. Alex Barrett is a good practice squad guy. Teron Jackson has a little bit of upside. Garvin, eh. So defensive line wise, boy, they need top heavy help. They need starters. So they're not finding any of those in free agency. Those are gone. The only edge that is potentially available who could be of an impact is Azeez Ojulari. He isn't signed. I don't know why he's not signed. I saw a rumor that the Eagles aren't interested in him. So I don't know. I doubt that the 49ers are going to make a move on Ojulari. So it just really feels like they're putting all their eggs into the draft basket, which just feels so abnormal from the 49ers and how they typically go about building a roster. Um, I really think that's one of the weird parts about it. Is it just doesn't feel like how they do it, you know? It feels like they're getting ready to go into the draft with substantial needs. Uh Substantial needs on the defensive line. So, man, we'll see. When you look at the linebackers, obviously you lose Dre Greenlaw. You still got Fred. D. Winters has the potential to take a step forward. So we'll see. Jalen Graham has some upside. Luke Gifford, special teams. Curtis Robinson, special teams / depth. Oh, wow. They paid Cooper Kupp 3 years, $45 million. Ooh. Oh, Lord. Oh. Ooh. That's a little too muchy for me. I love Cooper. I was a big fan of Cooper Kupp coming out of Eastern Washington. That seems way too much. That seems like overspend. See, that's why free agency is dangerous, because you could take a guy like Cooper Kupp and pay him phew, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for a declining player. So yeah, I'm fine off that. Definitely not in the 49ers budget, that's for sure. How much? It was a 3-year. It was a 3-year, $45 million contract. Yeah. Woof, that's expensive. Cooper, how old is Cooper, man? Cooper's 31? Ooh. $31? Oh my goodness. 31? Yo. That's ooh, boy. Boy, it is good to be in the business of the NFL. $15 million per year for Cooper Kupp. It is outrageous when he's 31 coming off crazy knee injury. A little crazy. PR says, what's your opinion on this O-line now blocking without Juice, both in the pass and run game? I feel this will be an interesting area to watch if we can't re-sign Kyle. I hope we can. I think like I said, I think there's a chance we could bring him back. Say, you know what, Kyle? Come on back, buddy. We missed you. Come on back. So I think there's a chance that we could lure him back. But even with that, he doesn't necessarily impact the offensive line. We did a little bit of a deep dive on the offensive line already. I'm high on Ben Bartch. I think he could be a starter. next year and potentially be better than Aaron Banks based on what he showed last year. So not concerned about that. Brendel suffering with a potential injury last year. If that is the case, hopefully he can get healthy. We'll see. We'll see. I'm higher, like I said, on Colton McKivitz than most. So I'm fine with Colton. I actually have explained I think Colton will take another step next year. I think he'll probably have his best season. And they really just have to. We know Dominic Pooney, so they're gonna have to draft. They're gonna have to draft and see if Nick Sakel, Matt Hennessy could be guys that step in. But for the most part, I think it's okay. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's great. I think it's okay. I'll feel much better about the offensive line once we get into training camp and I can get my eyes on, because I wasn't feeling good about the 49ers offensive line in training camp. I told you guys that. I told you that Jake Brendel and Aaron Banks were really worrying me, and shocking, spoiler alert, who were the guys that struggled the most last year? Aaron Banks and Brendel. So the signs are there. You just got to know what you're looking for. So they showed those signs in training camp, and it rolled into the season. So we just got to see. This is why it's such an important training camp right now. Tony says, as long as we hit at wide receiver, cornerback, D-line, O-line, LB, free safety, strong safety, halfback, tight end, and fullback in the draft, we'll be fine. I see what you did there, Tony. I see what you did there. And if we are being honest, you ain't wrong. You are not wrong, sir. You are not wrong. We're gonna have to draft every hit on every position. How many do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Luckily for the 49ers, they have 11 picks. Oh, he forgot kicker. Damn. We're not drafting a kicker ever again. Can't happen. Won't happen. Can't do it. Can't do it. Can't happen. James says, calling it now. Front office pulls it out last minute via draft day trades to give us both experienced D line and a fresh batch of rookie ballers. I think that is a great point, James, is that moves aren't done being made. There's a reason why I always talk about the draft being like the real like deadline of the off season and potential trades, because when the draft comes around, that is when guys are going to be getting shopped. The phone's going to be picking up. We want a draft pick. You want this guy? Take him. We'll take the draft pick. So that could absolutely be a potential. It's a potential that is risky, right? Because there's no guarantee that that is going to happen. The potential and range of outcome exists, but it's risky. It's very risky, but they could do it. They could do that. But we'll see. We'll see, man. We will see. Larry says, I will be shocked if we win the division. Great show. Well, I appreciate you, Larry. We talked about this yesterday. I think it's the Rams right now, and then right below it, it's Seahawks, 49ers, Arizona. So, unfortunately, Rams are the better team in division. You know, it hurts to say because it has been the 49ers for so long, but as it stands, it is the Rams. So, 49ers got some work to do. They got some work to do. It's not a foregone conclusion that it will or will not happen, but we'll see. Tony says thoughts on Savion. I think he can be nasty with us. I need to do more work on Savion. I have told this story before, but I'll tell it again. The first game I covered this year for college football was Stanford versus TCU, and Savion was extremely disappointing in that game. Savion, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Savion was extremely disappointing to me. He looks the part. He looks like an NFL wide receiver 100%, but he had some of the worst drops, not one drop, multiple drops to the point where I'm like, what? I'm like, how does this guy keep dropping the ball? I was like, this guy couldn't catch a cold. Like, it was that bad. It was one of those things like, can this guy catch? And so that I have a big red flag, like big red flag on Savion, because the player who stood out was Jack Beck. That was the best player on the field. I didn't even know who he was at the time. I thought Jack was a tight end. I had no idea who he was, but he was the best player on the field. And that includes the potential first, second round wide receiver on Stanford's sideline as well. So I only have a first impression. That is it. I haven't done any tape work on Savion, but my first impression of watching him live versus Stanford was a frustrating one. I was getting frustrated with him, and I didn't really know who he was. I was like, dude, catch the ball. Catch the ball. Like I can't even express to you, I can't even express to you how many targets he got. He got so many opportunities, and it was a struggle for him. So, doesn't mean he can't develop, doesn't mean he can't blossom, it doesn't mean he can't take steps forward. I need to do more tape work to have a definitive opinion on him, but my first impression was not good. So, I need to do more to really be able to, like, lock in if that's really how I feel about him, if I feel like he can't catch. Because if he can't catch, then I don't want him. But if he can, and it was just like a bad game, and it was just like, all right, we'll chalk that up to being a bad day in the office. Then it is what it is. We move forward. Larry says draft picks is like going to Vegas, no promises. I agree, and shout out to Larry. Larry's cooking today. Shout out to everyone who sent a super chat today. Appreciate you guys keeping us on our toes, and you guys have been sending good ones too. But yeah, I agree. There's absolutely no guarantees at all. See, dude, I need Tyler. Tyler, please stay with me. This is how I need people to help me with names. I think it's one of my ADHD things. Like I don't know. I can't explain it to you. But I need someone to just phonetically sound out these guys' names, because my brain just hard time. Real hard time. So thank you, Jack Besh. Jack Besh, All right, that's how I'm gonna say it from now on because I get confused. Jack Beck, Jack Betch, Jack Besh. Thank you. Please stay with me. Please correct me whenever you get a chance. I don't. I'm not going to be insulted by it. I actually prefer. See, like right here, Mac Delena, 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 Delena. I don't know. It could be multiple ways to pronounce it. Tyler Shoe. I'm pretty sure it's Tyler Shoe. Is how you say that one, but it helps for me when I hear other people say the name. If I hear someone say it, I'm like, okay, cool. It's pronounced Shuck. Oh, I'm never gonna win at this game. I'm never gonna win. You could literally we could play a game where it's pronounced this name, Brad, and I'm gonna pronounce every single one of them wrong. Yes, I know who you're talking about. I actually just followed him on Instagram. It's like 2 days ago when he had his pro day. His pro day video popped up in my feed, and I was like, "Who is this guy?" Because instantly I was like, "This dude looks like a freaking athlete." He doesn't look very big, but I was like, "Who's Mac Delena? Fresno State?" He's got some he's definitely got some juice. So yeah, I know who you're talking about. I definitely have to watch some tape, but yeah, his pro day was it's like, all right. Follow on my radar. I think I got to everyone's super chats. Got to everyone's super chats. We kind of deviated away from our defensive conversation because of all the squirrels hopping around. We had Cooper Kupp get paid. I think it was 3 years, 45 million, 15 million a year for a 31-year-old wide receiver. Shoo, boy. And I haven't checked out Ja'Cory Brooks yet. Taj Brooks getting closer. I saw him. He's Texas Tech. I liked his aura. Honestly, I don't know what it is. I've been able to determine that players are going to be good just by like their aura, like just looking at them. Like I'm like that guy's a good football player. It's a weird thing. That's why I always felt like player evaluation has been natural to me. It's almost like a weird thing that I can't explain. And I'm like looking at a prospect, and I'm like, ooh, I like his aura. Like the guy, Tyler Shook, Tyler Show. I was at the Senior Bowl. Tyler Shook. I was at the Senior Bowl. They hadn't practiced yet. He's kind of walking around, kind of like getting ready to warm up, and I'm like, he looks like he's good. I had no clue who he was. No idea. Never seen him play. And I was like, he's got an aura. I was like, who is that guy? And he ended up being like one of the biggest risers of the Senior Bowl. Another aura guy, Femi Oladejo. Warm-up line. Scanning. I'm like, who's that guy? Oladejo? Now Oladejo is one of my favorite prospects. He killed Senior Bowl week. I don't know what it is, man. I don't know what it is. Like an aura. It's like you can't teach that, right? Like you can't teach someone to scout aura. Like how does that even happen? Dang it. See, I've been saying Oladejo, and everyone's been saying Oladejo. And I'm like, you sure it's not Oladejo? Like, damn it. Thank you, Tyler. Tyler is going to earn a wrench really quickly if he can continue saving my life when it comes to pronouncing names. I'm telling you, you keep this up, man, you're going to get a blue wrench because I need someone to check me every single time I mispronounce someone's name. It's really bad. But thank you. Your services are absolutely noticed. Omar says, "How is Moody still on our team? We are we are good. Definitely. Oladejo. 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 A lot of people want Moody off the team. It's like I said, it's become like a joke now. Larry says, "Faithful, are you going to do a call-in show?" I don't think I've ever done a call-in show. Call-in shows scare me because people could do weird things on the call-in shows that could jeopardize my account. So, like, I've always been kind of nervous of call-in shows because as much as I would love to have conversations with you guys, I'm also not. I also don't want my account to get clapped. So, I've always been nervous of the call-ins just because people could do weird things and get my account taken down. James says, "Trade 11 for a top tier defensive tackle or stay put at 11." Ooh, that's a good call. So I was willing to trade 11 for like an elite edge. I would consider it for an elite defensive tackle. I would. I would consider if you can get me like in their prime, like a 25, I would say a 25-year-old elite defensive tackle, elite edge, I would consider trading 11 for that player for sure. Because to me, it's a wash. If you're getting a player at that caliber, that's proven, yeah, I would consider that for sure. Larry says Kyle and John are on yellow alert right now. Yeah, I think they are. I think there are some alarms going off inside of 4949. Denise DeBartolo way. It definitely feels a little tide of change has happened. So I wonder if Saleh knew he had to rebuild a new defense. Maybe not. I think Saleh's up for it if you give him the opportunity to do it. But I don't know if he would love the idea of not being able to do it and then have someone else like make decisions that he wasn't wanting. I think that consists of something as well. But we'll see, man. We'll see. You can see the defense. They have good cornerstone pieces on the defense. The problem is there's holes. Malik Mustafa, I'm good with. Diamond Lenore, Renardo Green, I'm good with. Fred Warner, I'm good with. Nick Bosa, I'm good with. Everyone else is a question mark. So that is 1, 2, 3. I'm going to call 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 holes out of 11 team starters. So we'll see. They got their work cut out for them for sure. Jay says, "Let's talk long snappers." What do you want to talk about? The fact that we see everyone's thinking that we're cooked, and it's like, come on, we just added a Pro Bowler. We added a Pro Bowler. Yes, it doesn't matter that he's 39 years old and he's a long snapper. But no, in all seriousness, I've gotten DMs from people who work in the Texans organization who are like, "You guys got a good one." I'm like, "Okay." It's like, "All right." They're like, "You're gonna love John Weeks." I'm like, "Okay." you know, and these aren't necessarily people I get like DMs from too often. They're like, "Yay, you got a good one in this guy." I was like, "Oh, okay. You say so. If you say so." I mean, from everything that I've heard about him, like he does sound like again, we talked about it. There you don't first of all last in the league as long as he has, and then last in the league on one team as long as he had, unless you're like really a quality person. It just doesn't work that way. 11 likes away from 300. All right. Very nice. Very, very nice. Can we get to it? Can we hit that goal? That's 100 past the original goal that I asked you guys for. Dang, you guys have been destroying the poll. You're at 407 votes. Imagine if those 407 votes were actually likes on the channel or on the video. Imagine. Uh you don't win 2 Super Bowls, consequences happen. I mean, yeah, I don't I can't say that like unfortunately I can't say I'm shocked. I'm surprised, but I can't say that I'm shocked by it. So, yeah, it's tough, man. It just goes to show that not only are the margins like paper thin on the field and it's a game of inches, but I mean, man, you don't win the ultimate goal. After a while, your leash runs out regardless. So there you go. We hit 100 or 300. How? 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 Shout out to my Spartans in the chat. I appreciate you guys for smashing that like button, getting us to 300 on a Friday stream, too, by the way. I think that's pretty impressive. I'll take that on a Friday stream. All right. Absolutely crushed it today. Appreciate everyone. I think that's a good time to for us to exit stage left. I don't expect to be live this weekend unless any news pops off, but that is always a potential chance as signings are still being announced across the league. Again, we saw on stream Cooper Cup signed, so it is possible. So we'll see if the 49ers can bring home Azeez Ojulari. Something like that. Ooh, now I want pie. I want pie now. That sounds delicious. I'm hungry. All right. I'm out of here for now. You guys have a great rest of your Friday. Have a great weekend. And I will see you guys next week. And shout out to Larry. Shout out to Larry. I'll call all of you guys out. Shout out to Larry. Shout out to James. Shout out to Omar. Shout out to Tony. James. I already said James. Shout out to PR. Tommy, Cynthia, Lisa. Appreciate you guys for sending a super chat. And I appreciate everyone else for dropping comments, all that good stuff, liking up the video. Appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your weekend. Grab some cookies on the way out or a pie if you want. And we'll see you next week. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see you.